Hello, this is Mr. Hornsby 3. This is the Mr. Hornsby 3 show, and today I am going to be ranking all the Apocalypse episodes from X-Men the Animated Series and X-Men 97. And people go like, wait a minute, Mr. Hornsby, you're crazy. There was no X-Men 97 episodes with Apocalypse. Yeah, there was. So, anyway, let's go into this ranking. But before I do, I forgot to do this frickin' Monday, and I gotta explain something else too. So I forgot to do this Monday, but I wanted to say rest in peace to the suicidal, homicidal, genocidal Sabu, who passed away over the past weekend. May he rest in peace. One of the kings of ECW, one of the kings of hardcore wrestling, period. And he will be sadly missed. And my thoughts and prayers and my family's thoughts and prayers goes out to his family, his friends, and everybody that knew him personally. So, lost a hardcore legend. Speaking of hardcore legends, we had another one pop up on AEW last week. I'll talk about that when I get to an AEW video, which I might be doing next week. Alright, so, also, I put it on a community thing. I don't know if people read it or not, but yesterday I got pretty busy, so I wasn't able to do the build to the King of the Figures. So, Friday I'll do the first build to King of the Figures. Then I'll continue to build next Tuesday, so on, until I do King of the Figures. Which will be the last one I do until October of wrestling figure events. Anyway, now that all that's out of the way, let's get into the ranking of the Apocalypse episodes from X-Men the Animated Series and X-Men 97. Now, the first episode, this is going to be dead last because this episode, yeah, it was alright. And we did see the return of Apocalypse in this episode. But I'm going to go with my least favorite X-Men the Animated Series Apocalypse episode, which is Fifth Horseman. Because apparently Apocalypse must have known something was going to happen in Beyond Good and Evil, because he courted Fabian Cortez to go find an ancient temple so that he could be resurrected if something was to happen to him. So Apocalypse knew he was going to die at the end of Beyond Good and Evil. Where does Beyond Good and Evil rank on my Apocalypse episode? You'll find out in a little bit. Alright, my next least favorite episode is Obsession. Because really, it's an Apocalypse episode, but it's not really focused on Apocalypse. It's focused on Archangel wanting revenge on Apocalypse for turning him into Archangel. It's also focused on Apocalypse's ship that I guess he got out in space or whatever. So the focus really ain't on Apocalypse. There is a pretty funny part in that episode. Actually, a couple of funny parts in the episode, like when Apocalypse and Archangel get ready to fight. They're fighting and all that. Then the X-Men show up. And then there's a point where he grabs Archangel. And Cyclops tries to blast him, and he puts Archangel in front. So Archangel's like, oh, I got blasted by Cyclops. And then later on in the battle, he frickin' throws Archangel at Wolverine or frickin' Cyclops or something. So they just treat him like a total jabroni, pretty much. But that's like the only part I like about the whole episode. Because, I mean, really, Archangel was the focus and so was the ship. Now, Apocalypse is in the episode, but he's not really the focus. Well, but yeah, you know. But yeah, that's how it goes. Anyway, my next least favorite Apocalypse episode. Well, I mean, Apocalypse is in both these episodes. But, you know, he's at the part where Magneto's doing his speech and all that stuff. But in the second part of it, he frickin' shows up at the end to set up the next big Apocalypse episode, which is Sanctuary. And like I said, Apocalypse is in the episode. They show him watching Magneto while Magneto's talking about creating Asteroid M to be a safe haven for mutants, so they don't have to deal with the hatred they're dealing with on Earth, with the mutants and all that stuff, or with all the humans trying to, take them out and everything. So yeah, Magneto had this plan to create Asteroid M, and it didn't turn out so well because somebody on that ship, Fabian Cortez, changes Magneto's plans. So Magneto has to take down Asteroid M and go after Fabian Cortez for betraying him at the end of the episode. But yeah, you see Apocalypse when Magneto's doing his speech. But then you see Apocalypse at the end of episode 2. He had, I guess, saved Fabian Cortez from the deep, dark depths of space and used him to have him set up for the events that's going on in the Fifth Horseman episode to talk about, and I couldn't even think of in the Fifth Horseman episode. All right, my next least favorite Apocalypse episode is none other than Time Fugitive Part 1. Now, I'll talk about Time Fugitive Part 2 later on. And yeah, I'm breaking up to a two-parter, but you know what? Sometimes you gotta do that. But, yeah. Because, really, we don't know who's behind this plague thing until the end of the episode. Episode 2, we already know it's Apocalypse. So I'll talk about Episode 2 of Time Fugitive, or Part 2 of Time Fugitive, down the road on this list. So yeah, Time Fugitive Part 1, I wasn't really too big of a fan of it. Mainly focuses on Bishop coming back to try to stop this plague, because after he stopped Days of Future Past, then the plague happened. I mean, heck, there's always something happening in Bishop's future. I mean, every time. No wonder he was in the present in frickin' X-Men 97. But every frickin' time Bishop goes back, something else has happened. He stops Days of Future Past. He goes back, and then the plague happens. Then he goes back, and frickin' Fitzroy has killed Professor X in the past. Which, I'll talk about that getting retconned with X. I kind of think that's going to get retconned with X-Men 97 if they do what I hope they do with Legion. If you saw my Legion review, you know what I think they should do with Legion. Well, it was a Legion review and a topic, so yeah. But yeah, so yeah. All right. Now these are the episodes that are the best, and I'm going to start with the first appearance of Apocalypse in the animated series, which is The Cure and Come of the Apocalypse. I really like both those episodes. You see Apocalypse is behind it from the start, at the beginning of The Cure, so it's a mainly focused Apocalypse episode. And then you see in the Come of Apocalypse why he created this fake cure. So yeah, that's pretty much the main focus of the Apocalypse. So like, those episodes are mainly focused on Apocalypse. And they have it before the Days of Future Past 3-parter. Although, can you really say that Days of Future Past, the third episode was really Days of Future Past episode? I don't know. Could be. Because it did end and say to be continued when you find out Magneto has captured the president, or senator, at the time. Alright. Now, for my next favorite episode with Apocalypse. There's really a couple more to do. But, I mean, actually, I guess you could say Time Fugitive did have Apocalypse at the beginning. But you didn't know he was behind the frickin' plague, so, yeah. Alright, next Apocalypse episode. Of course, Tolerance is Extinction Part 3 on X-Men 97. Because not only do you see Apocalypse in the past, even though you didn't see him in the future, you see Apocalypse in the present, and he's getting ready to set up something. He's getting ready to set up plans for that big arc. And next up, Time Fugitive Part 2. I really like Time Fugitive Part 2. We get to find out more about Cable, who was in Season 1, and he was after Adler in the Cure episode and the he wasn't in the Come of Apocalypse episode. But he was in the Cure episode. We also have seen Cable in the Genosha episode, and we're trying to figure out who the hell is this guy? Why the hell is he doing this? We find out in X-Men 97 why he's doing it, but at the time we didn't know who he was or anything. And then, if you watch the animated series, you think, well, it's probably because he came back and did it because it had something to do with Apocalypse. But X-Men 97 kind of rectified that, which, I'm going to talk about that when I do next week's topic video on the balance between Apocalypse and Bastion in the X-Men animated world, not in comic books or, movies, which we haven't seen him in, or, video games, because I think Bastion was in Marvel Ultimate Alliance, or X-Men Legends 2, one of those. I think it was in Marvel Ultimate Alliance. But, yeah, I'll talk about the balance between Apocalypse and, balance between Apocalypse and Bastion next week. But anyway, let's get into my favorite episodes. Of course, it's the 4-parter, Beyond Good and Evil. But I'm going to talk about the first part. So right here I'm putting part 1 of the 4-parter. I liked it, and we see that Apocalypse has a plan. Plus we get to see Mr. Sinister, which I was craving to see Mr. Sinister again, especially when we went back to Savage Land in Season 3 or Season 4. But we got to see him. But Apocalypse really... Actually, you know what? Yeah, Apocalypse really wasn't in the episode too much after he disappeared. It was mainly focused on Sinister and him trying to capture... the psychics. Or trying to capture Professor X and Jean Grey. And this is the episode where Jean and Cyclops got married. But was it Jean that Cyclops married in that episode? Or was it Madeline Pride? I don't know. If you watch X-Men 97, you know I asked that question. Anyway, so then after that, I'm going to put part 3. Even though part 3 brought Cable back into the fold. After he was in part 1, like the beginning of part 1, then we don't see him no more. I'm going to put part 3 in the fold. Next up, really, it's really just focused on them trying to capture Professor X this time. And then you got this whole situation where Cable comes back in time. Well, the first half is, Cable trying to steal the time machine. If you've seen the cliffhanger ending of part 2, which I'll talk about part 2 here in a minute. But, yeah, you see Cable trying to get a new time machine because Apocalypse took his. And then, we then see... them finally capture Professor X. We see Apocalypse in his form outside of his armor. What he looks like outside of his armor. Even though it was Mystique, well, they do show it also in a flashback too. So that's how Apocalypse looks out of his armor. And pretty much that's all I got to say about that one. Alright, next up, part 2 of Beyond Good and Evil. Also, I want to talk about something with part 3, because part 3, there's something that, I'm going to have in my topic video next week about the balance between Bastion and Apocalypse. But, part 3, Cyclops says something about the Misty Psychics and all that stuff, and why Apocalypse and them wants Misty Psychics and all that, and then, Cable's like, because he's pure evil. And then Beast says, well, you know, if Apocalypse is the personification of evil, then if you wipe him out, there's going to be an even more greater evil taking his place. And I'll talk more about that next week in the video about the balance between Apocalypse and Bastion. I'll talk about that next week. But anyway, and I'll bring this quote back up too from part 3 of Beyond Good and Evil. So part 2 is my favorite episode because we not only see Mr. Sinister helping out Apocalypse, then Magneto's helping out, Mystique, Sabretooth. We see characters like Psylocke in the show. We see the return of Archangel since Obsession. It seems like he's calmed down since Obsession. We see all this other stuff going on, and they're all trying to capture the psychics. And seeing Magneto, Mr. Sinister, and Apocalypse on the same side, imagine if those three teamed up all the frickin' time, they'd be impossible to stop. Not even the Elite X-Men could stop them, all three together. And then you got Mystique, after she kind of like, I don't know, was this before or after they did the episode where Great Creed Jr. finds out Mystique's his mom and Sabretooth's his dad? I don't know. Might have been after, because we don't see the Friends of Humanity no more after that episode. Well, I guess you could say we kind of seen a member of the Friends of Humanity in the final episode, Graduation Day. But is frickin' Henry Gyrick really a member of the Friends of Humanity at that time? I don't know. Was he working for Bastion when he attacked Xavier? I'll answer all those questions next week on the video about the balance between Bastion and Apocalypse. Anyway, so yeah, number 2 is my second favorite. And of course, last but not least, my favorite episode of Apocalypse, the number 1 episode of all the Apocalypse episodes, is Beyond Good and Evil Part 4. You get the big epic battle at the end, Wolverine's kicking ass, Magneto and Mystique's, teaming up with Wolverine, Cable and Bishop. They're all teaming up to stop Apocalypse. Wolverine causes Mr. Sinister to screw up the frickin' orb and all that, and then they're just, Sinister and them take off and run off, which we see them in the opening of Season 5. Which is kind of weird because how Season 5 starts, especially if you watch it on Disney Plus, it starts with the Phalanx episodes. And Sinister's in that episode. Those episodes. Anyway, so after that, Apocalypse's chamber's been destroyed, all that stuff, and now Apocalypse only exists outside of time. Also in episode 2 of part 2 of Beyond Good and Evil, Apocalypse explains his plan on what he had planned and why he's kidnapping the psychics. But but yeah, big epic. Would have been a perfect finale for the show if they would have did that, but they didn't. So yeah, but that's all the Apocalypse episodes ranked from worst to best. And really, I mean, I like most of the Apocalypse episodes, but the ones I really just don't like that much is Fifth Horseman and Obsession, because I didn't give a crap about the stupid ship dying at the end. Beast crying about a dumb ship. I know Beast is used to, it likes intelligent beings and all that stuff, but yeah, I don't know, it's just stupid. And yeah, Tolerance of Distinction Part 3 is an Apocalypse episode because it's got Apocalypse in it and 2 different things at the end and then in the mid-credit, cliffhanger. So yeah, but anyway, let me know what you guys think of my ranking of the Apocalypse episodes. Do you disagree with me? Do you agree with me? Do you think I should have ranked some other ones higher that I didn't rank higher, or do you think I did pretty well? Let me know in the comments. Like this video, subscribe for more. I did get a new subscriber this past weekend, so I'm always happy to see when I get new subscribers. The goofy video I did Sunday for Mother's Day when we were down there at frickin' Devou Park, I sung one of my hit Forrest Gump songs and put it on YouTube. I thought it'd be funny. Yeah. But that's doing decent on views right now. So, yeah. Better than the frickin' playthrough I did Friday. And speaking of playthroughs, don't forget to miss the playthrough. Because I'm still going to do the playthrough, but I'm going to do the Wrestle Figure Mania stuff in the day, or the King of the Figure build in the day. And then in the evening, I will be doing my playthrough of X-Men Mutant Apocalypse. So that you know, we just ranked all the Apocalypse episodes. Might as well play X-Men Mutant Apocalypse. Anyway, tune in next week where one of the videos I will be doing is the balance between Bastion and Apocalypse. But anyway, that'll do it. Catch you guys later and peace out.